Puccini wrote Turandot at a time in the early 20th century when very few Westerners had traveled to China, and even fewer had any real knowledge of its culture. He set the story. It was a French version of a Persian fairy tale set in a fictionalized ancient China to distance it from early 20th century Italy. But what does all of this mean to a 21st century audience?
I think one of the things that modern audiences have to remember is this opera was written by Puccini in the 1920s. We have to understand this as a person in the 1920s imagined view, a Western view of the East. It's not about China today or anything historical about things that happened in that world and the character of the people at that time.
Puccini himself never did travel to China. This was his imagination of a land that he had never traveled to, and this production is an interpretation of that. So essentially, the audience needs to understand that this is a fantasy, and it shouldn't be used to compare Asian Americans, and it shouldn't be used as a reference point for Chinese.
I think in looking in this production and this piece, we have to remember that it's not an accurate representation of anything. It is very much a fantasy, if anything.
This production of Turandot has sparked a deep and meaningful conversation with the Asian American community.
I first reached out to Opera Philadelphia after seeing the Turandot images because I was genuinely concerned about how some of the images were portraying Asian Americans.
It's so important that art give us that capacity to have those conversations, to have conversations about race, to have conversations about what we think about people and what we think about their cultures without even knowing it. And in many ways, this production is an opportunity to enter into those conversations in a meaningful way in a community that acknowledges the various threads and fabrics that weave us all together as one.
We're really looking at our practices differently so that we can be of the city.
Having been involved in this production 4 times, this is my 4th production, I remain very proud and very privileged to be a part of this production. Opera Philadelphia has opened a dialogue, and which I think can only bring good things.
During the last couple of weeks, I've been very impressed with the genuine nature of the discussions with Opera Philadelphia. I think that everyone that we've spoken with is very earnest in their want to understand the issues that the Asian American community has with this production and remedy as much as they can. I think that a lot of times in these kinds of situations, there's a bunch of negativity that you see transpire between both parties. I think this is the opposite of that. I think that a lot of good things can come from honest dialogue, and I'm looking forward to seeing the positive steps that can happen.
I think only good can come out of people sitting down together and talking about their perspectives. When they can respectfully sit in front of each other and talk about their perspectives and what they perceive those issues are, and when they can share those opinions, and when they can not only talk but also listen to each other, I think that's what changes the world, really.